And we're live. What is up? Little state of network action today. It is September 20th. There's only a couple things that I've got on my list of things to hit, so let's blast through them. And dude, that looks like Deutsche Telekom is going ahead and integrating. Yeah, obviously, they had big news a while back where they're saying they're going to use Helium. Now they're going to do it with their IoT stuff is going to be all over the world, so it'll be not only Helium, they're using TTN, they're going to use satellite, cellular, all kinds of stuff. So magic there. Next week will be the Helium community call. What's up, Vision Grid? What's up, Grey Hat? So there'll be no state of the network next week. Yeah, we'll just be doing the community call, so it gives me a little bit of a break. And then the last thing that I had that was big news that I saw this week was that there was a deny list refinement, which got at least my friend Bo's hotspots over on Ibiza off the deny list. He's got a bunch of hotspots that were up high on cell towers. They were doing really well. They're getting hits. I think he said 2,000 kilometers away, and he's like, I don't know how it happens, but I know that our hotspots aren't improperly set up, so I don't want to be on the deny list. So I think it's a constant thing, just trying to figure all this stuff out and making sure you get it right. But that's the news that I got this week. Let's see if Joey's going to roll in. Oh, I think he will. Yeah, if you guys have anything you want to talk about, let me know. Oh, did I send this to the wrong place, and that's why there's not many people here? What's up, Siegfried? Oh, yeah, we have the new time and date. Totally, that's what's going on. Let's see. I think I'll copy this link in so Joey can get it, and then we'll square that away. On the back end, I'm seeing like all these calls coming in, people figuring it out. There we go. Okay. What's up, Joey?
Yo.
What is going on? Let's see if I can get... There you go.
Turn the light on.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How's it going on your end?
Busy. I went through the Helium announcements. The Deutsche Telekom thing was kind of cool. It just seemed like the big thing there was the satellite ad. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. The way the IoT creators platform is kind of neat. They are just trying to treat a bunch of different platforms as one plug-in spot
Yep.
to make it, a little smoother.
To make it work.
As we know, every different protocol's got different things to think about. So
they're all so easy. It's like IoT is just plug and play. I don't know what people have such a big problem with.
Yeah.
It all works the first time. You don't need to worry about it. Never goes offline. Yep. So.
On the let's see. I'm trying to think of some things that we can talk through on the foundation side. I guess the IoT working group had a really good meeting this week. We had some folks come to us, this sort of some old conversations and new conversations coming together, but really looking at the region plans in Africa. And we've got a sort of unique spot to come in as Helium Foundation and say, like, look, we see the evidence from the governments. We see the I guess inconclusive nature from the Laura Alliance. This is sort of some of the Australia stuff again as well. And so had a really good chat in the working group call. Basically, we've got like this open period to discuss for about a month or so. Then basically the foundation would probably just end up applying this change provisionally to the region. And if something blows up, we will change it back, which is kind of nice. But it'd be an opportunity to allow folks to deploy gateways in about a half dozen countries that they just wouldn't work before. So
badass.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. I think Max had a great one-liner there because it is a complex thing. And he's like, I'm so happy that the Helium Foundation will be able to sort out all of the geopolitical issues plaguing these 16 countries.
I saw that message. That's classic Max.
Yeah. He's very pleased with himself about that. So we had a good laugh about
it. Basically, we take the position of we are not the ones that are going to solve all of this stuff. There's too many people to talk to, too many buried stakeholders, bribes and politics and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's like, that's just not what we're here for. So
No.
Yeah.
Generally try and stay out of the bribing region.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Clear
Um,
outside of that.
yeah. Although I've been listening to this podcast series called Founders, and there's one that I'm listening to right now with this guy Ed Thorpe, who's a famous investor, and he had said that one thing he noticed was that anytime there's profit in a region, there will always be corruption, and the more profit, the more corruption. And so it's just like, all right, this is it's not something to pretend it doesn't exist or to not build for. It's like you just it's part of the game, part of the playing field.
Yeah.
So
Not that it's related to that, but we've we've got some deployers that have been putting a ton of hotspots up in Guyana,
mm-hmm.
and that's not a country that's on most people's radar. This is South America, sort of on the upper end up there.
Up
I
top,
guess
yeah.
it sort of crests around. Um, that country is seeing something like 30+% year on year GDP growth. Apparently that is the place to be if you are a developer of,
You heard it
I
here,
don't know.
folks. Financial advice
Uh,
from Joey at Helium Foundation, signed off by the legal team. Fly to Guyana.
I think Abai's in the chat. You gotta
Is
go
yeah
easy on
okay.
me.
A bike can
Yeah,
back that up. Helium Foundation
yeah,
moving to Guyana. Good to know. Guyana.
yeah. Oh, it's just it. Well, the cool thing is we've been talking with these folks that are out there deploying gateways up on towers, sort of working with telcos,
Yeah.
and just seeing that roll through. I think it was my Twitter feed or something, but yeah, there's stuff happening out there.
Yeah.
Not every
Oh yeah.
country is getting hit with you know 10-15% inflation. So
No, I was talking with Daniel last week. I don't think he'll make it on. I think he's over in somewhere around Bangkok right now. Um, but he had said that the investment environment in Asia from the Token 2049 conference was markedly different than the U.S. So pretty
oh
interesting to see kind of money sloshing around the world, and it might be a little bit light here, but heavy over there. So
yeah, maybe that's where the the bear market ends. So we'll
yeah.
see.
I mean, I had a weird thought, and there's nothing to back this up, and it's probably wrong, but I just woke up this morning. I'm like, huh, I think we're through the bear market, and it's going to start to grow from here. Nothing to back that up. So,
I'll take it. Yeah.
so let's see. Siegfried, any news on Helium House? What was it? Smart City Conference Barcelona? Is that still going to happen? I think so. I don't see why it wouldn't. Um,
Yeah, I will be in Barcelona.
right, but
So
there's not a
Smart
full
City event.
fledged.
Uh, Not a Helium House, but there'll be an event. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not throwing the full exciting branding behind it. I'm not
But
going to
you
do
are you guys
talks
going to have a
on.
booth there, or is there going to be a side event? Like, what's it going to look like?
I believe, oh geez, there's a lot of conversations about events right now. If I'm remembering correctly, yes, there is a booth. And then also, if I'm remembering correctly, there's going to be like a little evening thing.
Oh, a little soiree. All right.
Yeah.
At one of the many fine restaurants there. I tell you what, Barcelona stood out to me as an amazing place to eat. There's some really good food there. That and was it the Gaudi Cathedral? Fucking mind blowing.
Mm, yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I actually haven't been to that. The Sagrada
Joey.
Familia is an impressive,
Yeah. Oh,
impressive
maybe
visit.
that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the same thing.
Well, there's Gaudi stuff. Well, no, that
Well,
is
like
Gaudi. Yeah. No, sorry.
scattered throughout.
Geez. I'm gonna attribute this to
Just
minimum coffee. But
keep drinking
yes,
your coffee.
we're both talking about the same thing.
It was yeah, I think Lee and Sophie and I went there, and it was like we were all kind of crying. It's like, what is happening? This is just a stupid building, but it's fucking amazing.
It's pretty
So,
wild. Yeah.
Bobby, what's up? And then I think the other thing that's interesting to me is the that smart city, because you didn't go last year, right? I don't think you were at that
Nope.
one.
Yep.
Was that?
Yeah.
It's just good.
I'm excited for it. It's exactly the people we should be talking to.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was looking at the video that I hit from or took from last year, and it's like, dude, there's a lot of action in the IoT world. It's still not easy. It's still not plug and play. But man, there's a lot of companies kind of developing and working on it.
Yep. I mean,
So
from where we're at a year ago, I'm really excited to see the developers that are coming in, buying OUIs, setting up devices, like finally starting to roll out some devices. This stuff takes time, but people are doing it. So we're
yeah,
starting to see those final PCBA like assemblies on
Oh yeah.
people's desks. And yeah,
Speaking of that, Dirk, the engineer I was been working with on the Helium bridge, which was a grant that I know will be finished by October 15th because that's the day we have to finish it by. Um, the first set of PCBs that we made a mistake on, and so we just got the second set of PCBs in, and we're gonna cook those in that little toaster oven this weekend that I built. And
nice.
Dirk was saying, I'll quote him, and I'll be like, "Dude, don't quote me on this." But he says, I think I'm close to having a universal RTL 433 to Helium bridge running on our PCB, not just 3 sensors to Helium, but the whole list of supported devices that are bridged to Helium for any LoRaWAN network. So pretty cool stuff there.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see those out in the wild a little bit more.
yeah, yeah. No, I think we're gonna do. I think I'll head over to his place this weekend. We'll do a video just to kind of wrap that whole thing up and let people know where to find it and yeah, build their own.
Right.
Uh, Bobby, is Neil still working on TrackPack? I lost touch with him. Yeah, he is still working on TrackPack. He's going out of hammer and tongs.
Mhm.
He is a great dude. Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually go on Rack's website right now and buy their sticker tracker with the TrackPack integration. I think comes with it. So cool to see his partnerships popping up in other places these days.
Yeah. Oh, we need 7 more people to hit the like. Yeah, heck yeah, Hector. We need a lot more people to hit the like, but we'll get there. I appreciate it. Appreciate the confidence there. Um, let's see what else is going on. All right, a bunch of joking around in the chat. I think we covered the Barcelona Helium House thing. Um, I would actually disagree with this, Bobby. It sounds like Helium is putting most of their focus into Miami and the 5G launch. Does anyone agree? I don't agree. It seems like it's split pretty 50-50 between LoRaWAN and 5G. I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
Well, so the Helium Mobile is a brand that is licensed by the Helium Foundation. And so it's Helium Mobile is not the Helium Foundation.
Right. Okay.
Um, and so that's, I guess it's certainly a confusing. We see it come up a lot. Um, but anyway, Nova Labs operates that brand and they are launching their Helium Mobile thing in Miami. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
we see there. But as far as Helium goes, you could think of, you pretend I said something completely else for the other brand name. Helium itself is focused on global, focused on the network, focused on, making sure that everything is healthy and happy. So that's we've had some chats with our marketing team trying to figure out like how do we clarify this for folks because it's not Bobby's not the only person to bring that up. Like we've got to
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah. We heard that a lot. We used to hit that on most of the state of the networks. I think throughout the summer, it was just like, hey, the LoRaWAN thing is still
yeah.
there. Like it's not dead. They didn't ignore it. It's still
Uh-huh.
working. I think that's one of the amazing things for me is that coming into this as like a non-technical dude, I followed the instructions that Daniel put up on the internet. Bought a Raspberry Pi, bought a concentrator, put them together, banged on some keys, and that thing I put on the mountain is still. Actually, no, I think I replaced it once, but other than one replacement since 2020, September of 20 or August 2020, still working.
Yeah.
Like it's shit.
That's
Maybe this thing's
yeah,
gonna work.
right. And they're designed to. That the hope here is that you set this thing up and can forget about it, and this network is stable and exists for a very, very long time. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. On the note of gluing a concentrator and a Pi together, I helped a couple of folks out. I was up to like 11 last night answering some data only questions.
Okay.
But there are data only hotspots like coming back online. So uh, there's a couple of little things that we got sorted out earlier this week. The CLI was doing some confusing things, and so some polish landing there soon. But yeah, it's good to see data only hotspots coming back on because there's been a surprising amount of demand for folks to plug in other hardware for purposes of just using the network.
Yeah. 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 I know with this bridge, I'm pursuing a couple of government grants around that, and they're excited about all kinds of things, and they may not give a shit about earning crypto. It's just like, oh, we just want this thing to work. Can you just like make this thing work and get out of our way?
Yep. Yeah. Run a bunch of your own gateways and get a ton of redundancy from everything else that's around. It's, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no better way to
There's
secure a network than that.
there's a bunch of talk about this Wi-Fi stuff. Um, I haven't seen a ton about it, but I just haven't been paying attention. I think Max probably knows more than I do, and Joey, I'm sure you do, or I'm pretty sure you do, because I don't know anything.
Max probably knows more about it than I do, frankly.
Yeah,
I keep my blinders on for LoRaWAN for the most part, but at a high level, understand how it's going to fit into the broader scope of the overall network and the cellular
yeah,
side of things and stuff.
yeah. I mean, I always have the question with this stuff is with IoT, it's pretty clear to me is that there wasn't really a network around me before Helium went up, and now I can use it, and I kind of understand where it fits in, like what the good use cases are. For Wi-Fi, I'm still not sure. It's like I already have a Wi-Fi. Why would I need to put something in my house? Why would I want people getting on my Wi-Fi network? I can see it for businesses, but I can't see it for residential. But maybe it's just, once again, demonstrating that my ignorance can be stunning. So,
Yeah, I will be learning alongside you. I won't make any statements because I frankly don't know. The To me, it's a different radio spectrum, and what you do with it beyond that is kind of that has yet to be shown.
yeah, yeah, TBD. Cool. Let's see. The parking sensors that I had ordered and deployed or placed or installed or whatever the cool guy word is for it, and then they broke within 3 days, and I pulled them out and told the company. I think those things are delivering sometime this week. The replacements that the company said these ones will
Oh,
work.
great,
So
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it'd be good to get them in. And they sent me an extra one. They're like, hey, sorry about the trouble. Here's an extra. So it's like, where do I put this extra one? I don't know.
cool. We had another conversation this week around parking sensors that I don't get to talk about, but it was cool.
Okay.
Like, they they are devices that solve a very distinct problem. Actually, it's not even a very distinct problem. You can solve a lot of problems with parking sensors and make a lot of insights. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean, maybe these just keep breaking, and I keep pulling them out, and they keep sending me +1 every time, and eventually I just cover the entire main street here, and then hand that data off to the city and be like, hey,
I'll,
look, you
I'll
guys.
start taking your seconds. I'll
Yeah,
figure out how to fix them up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I think those ones are cracked, and I ripped one of them apart to show private group, and then I think I just chucked them. I was like, I don't have time for this shit. I got enough stuff on the table back there that extra
Yep.
e-waste is beyond my capability to manage.
Totally.
So cool. Anything else? I was thinking these things don't need to be an hour. We can go way shorter. Is there anything else that's going on in your world, or Abai, if you're in the chat and you want to hit something? I think we did all the Helium announcements at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Um,
The oh, Siegfried.
oh yeah, well, I think this was Nova's issue, right? This was the dedicated console thing.
Let's see.
Is I got a message that
Yes.
said like I
Yeah.
my DC thing was at 0 and then it wasn't. I was like, whatever. I'm sure they'll figure it out. Smart people there.
Yeah. So this has happened twice. I think there was a fix that went out. Basically, some funny state happens on the Explorer code base. So this is like the old legacy LNS that we were using. Last time it hit Foundation console and the dedicated console. This time I think it was just the dedicated console. I don't know if the patch had actually landed there. Um, and yeah, it's kind of just a random thing when a device does God, I can't even remember. This has to do with us trying to make sure that DC are properly accounted for, sort of under the new infrastructure. There's been a bunch of changes in the code base to try to get it to support that, just for the sort of like keep it working and the sort of end of life story that it has. Um, and so, yeah, anyone who got affected with this, the team grabbed a snapshot of the LNet of console, rolled it back to when everyone had the credits, and then canceled all of the Stripe transactions for anyone that had auto pay turned on. So it should be totally resolved. If it's not, I will help you find the person to talk to. Uh, but that is on, in this case, the Nova Lab side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby, really wish you were more into 5G and Wi-Fi. Well, fuck it, dude. I'm not my game. I mean, I got a 5G unit up in the house. I just I don't see the thing for Wi-Fi. I've talked to some other Wi-Fi projects are doing interesting things where they're layering in other like I don't know data layers on it. Um, yeah, and I get that it's all over the world, but
Kind
maybe
of
I should pay attention. Probably not.
wild question. Maybe you can answer this for me. How's so? Who is it? The Saul and what's their VC thing? But they put
Oh,
together
Sal
that
and
dash.
Mahesh, the EV3 escape velocity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
EV3. They put together that dashboard, and it sort of shows like DePIN projects and revenue and things like that. But how is GeoNet making the money that they're making, or what? Who's buying geo data? What's the story there?
Well, to be clear, I no longer have a business relationship with those guys that ended last week. But the way that they do it is they actually have a pretty good model where they bridge over from Web 2 to Web 3, where they got their Web 2 customers that are just buying the stream of data that's being put off by these stations. And they take that money and they buy tokens back and then they burn those tokens. So they're,
Yep. Okay.
in terms of like a fleet size, they're actually getting close to being one of the bigger fleets in the world.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think they have the same topology. And this is actually an interesting piece. I think we might have been talking about this in the Apple fuckers thing, but as far as like number of, I'm making a switch here, LoRaWAN gateways to in Helium versus TTN, where, and this is something I was trying to find out all last week, is how many LoRaWAN gateways do all these different networks have? Helium is the only one I could find where the numbers are really easily accessible, and it's got whatever 350,000. I think one of the guys helped me find TTNs, which was 115 or 112,000, so about a third of the
Hmm.
size of Helium. So I'm writing this article and trying to figure out just how powerful a DPIN is, and if it can be 3 times as big as the next largest network in the world, it's pretty powerful. I'd rather be able to say it's as big as the next 6 networks combined, but I can't find the size of the other networks. But to kind of wrap it back to the GeoNet thing, is that GeoNet might have a ton of stations. I think they have 3,300. Hector probably knows, he's on here. Is that they may not be optimally deployed. So they're pretty well deployed. They had a staking program that we built for them that seems to be working. They just got their first miner in France.
Hmm. I remember you
So as
talking
long as
about
they can
that.
kind of cover the world, they're going to be, hopefully they'll be okay. Like I want everybody to win in the space.
Yeah, because these RTL networks, they just want a big even grid across the entire globe. Yeah, redundancy isn't the same story as it is in LoRaWAN.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Huh,
Yeah.
okay. It just stood out to me. The RTL stuff is a little bit,
Well,
yeah, I don't,
RTK, not RTL.
RTK, sorry, uh,
Real time
RTL, yeah,
kinematics, I think it is. You're thinking about RTL,
yes,
which is the helium bridge thing.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's like,
yeah, SDRs and stuff. Anyway, yes, it's interesting, and it is, I don't know if it's even on topic for the show, but I wanted to ask you about it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting project. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say with that. There aren't like any NDAs signed, but it's like, when you have these little like business breakups, it's probably better just to shut your fucking mouth about it. As difficult as that is for me.
Totally.
But yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Um,
All right.
and I think I want to make sure like that doesn't negatively impact GeoNet, is that we just had diverging goals, right? They wanted us to do one thing. We didn't think that was important. They ended the business because they don't want to pay for it. It's just like if you hire a gardener and the gardener's like, hey, I really want to cut your bushes. And you're like, no, I want you to mow my lawn. If all you do is cut their bushes, they're not going to keep paying you because they want their lawn mowed. So
All right.
that's probably the best way
Might
to
might
think
even
about
get
it.
arrested. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we don't get arrested, but yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, Keenan? Good to see you here.
Hey.
Um, let's see. Working group dominated by Africa. Okay. People were arguing about who's in Dusseldorf. This is like, where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Siegfried and Chad.
Oh, what's going on? Yeah.
I don't know.
We're,
Pretty good.
we talked a lot more about the other stuff than just Africa in the working group call this last week. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
that they're on a good track for delivering some impact for the network. So I'd love to see it.
I mean, I'm super curious now. I'm writing this article over on the Golden Hawk site about the life cycles of DePIN. And the one that we haven't hit yet in any DePIN is this sustainable operation cycle, where
Mhm.
you've got a business that's a going concern that is like clearly okay, they're making enough money to be profitable and stay in business. I don't see that yet on any of these where it's really clear it's going to work, right? I see a bunch of them where it's like, oh yeah, probably will work. Like looks like it's going to work. It's directionally good, but I don't see anywhere it's like, oh yeah, that's a profitable business, kicking ass, taking names. Like not worried about that at all.
Well, I mean, you have to turn profit on its head, right? Like, typically, profit means that a CEO starts making, multiples more year over year or something like that. But that's not how these DePIN networks work,
Right,
right? Like,
right.
shareholders are the people that are involved, and
Yeah, and you got to be
like,
careful what you say. So I'll make sure that I don't let you say some stupid shit and get
we're
fucking.
talking about GeoNet right now,
Yeah,
so that's
clearly, clearly.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
think if we go to this idea of like diffusion of really responsibility, where in a normal business, if whatever Paleo Treats or whatever Gristle King is running its own LoRaWAN network and a gateway goes down, it's on me to go fix that gateway. And there's really not the same thing in Helium. It's not like you can call up Helium Inc. and be like, "Hey, there's a gateway over on 17th and Ralphington that is down." It's like, "Oh well,
Yep.
whose problem is that?" And by design, you don't know by default that person can totally tell
Well,
you, but they don't have to.
I mean, yeah, that's certainly an aspect of it, and it's a thing that we've been exploring, with the IoT working group is this idea of an SLA for a hotspot. Like, how do you
Yeah,
sort of activate somebody that's hosting a hotspot to basically be incentivized to be involved with said hotspot? Um, and it's a tricky balance because there's a lot of people that just want to plug the thing in and forget about it and let it do its thing
yep,
all on its own
yep,
and never think about it again. Um, but in that scenario where the cat knocks it out of the plug on the wall or whatever the thing, like
yep.
there has to be some means to notify and help them to keep things going. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
but there's an aspect too of you know redundancy solves that problem. So like there's a lot of levers to pull when you start talking about those things. But,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a ton going on. I think that the point, or the thing I'm hitting with this article is that it's just a DPIN is a more complicated business than a regular business. That's it.
mhm,
You've just got one more, at least one more variable to manage, and that is the community that's providing the service. So
totally. Yeah.
let's see,
And
Siegfried. Oh, go ahead. Was there anything else you had on that?
well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like the goal for everyone should be the utility of said network.
Yeah.
And it always has to circle back on that.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny writing this thing and looking back at what happened with Helium and HiveMapper and Demo and the rest of them and seeing like, okay, bunch of smart people putting these things together. What were the mistakes they made? Because everybody makes mistakes. I make them. It's not like nothing is perfect. And then what can we learn from that? And then how do we apply that to the future, knowing that I think the quote is you can't fight the next war with the last war's technologies and strategy. So it's not like, we saw what happened with Helium, like, oh, we're just going to do everything but fix all the mistakes and it's going to be great. That's not going to work. That's a stupid strategy. So,
Yeah. And I mean, it, I don't know. I guess the framing is a little tricky because like helium continues to evolve, right? Um,
I mean,
there's
that's the thing.
there's a lot
Yep.
of things where we've recognized like this particular approach isn't the right one, and
Yeah.
the community jumps in and changes that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's the Henry Singleton quote is what's my plan? My plan is to keep showing up for work every day. Which is like, that's the Helium plan, right? Is like, we're going to
Mhm.
keep showing up. We're going to keep fixing stuff. We've publicly acknowledged a bunch of times, and I'm speaking for them, although I don't have any right or responsibility or whatever to do that. We've publicly acknowledged a couple times nothing like this has ever been done before, so we're going to make mistakes, but we're going to fix it as fast as we can. I think they've demonstrated that so far. No one, you're not going to make everybody happy all the time, but yeah, it seems like a good
I
thing.
mean,
Good.
you have every right to speak on it. Like everyone in this call has every right to speak on it. Like
Yeah.
we do really try to And yeah,
Yes.
everyone is a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like it's a part of it and it's a responsibility and a right. And at the intersection of those two things is sometimes people don't want to, they want more of one and less of the other. Let's see, Siegfried, and just in case you missed me mentioning above, are you keeping up with current developments with Wi-Fi DABA? I haven't paid close attention. I've talked to those guys a couple times. I know Max has read through their white paper. We're in a little bit of a, I mean, for me and Max, we're in a little bit of an odd position because we're building a business helping people and charging for that. So we get a lot of people saying, hey, will you look at our stuff? And it's like, well, we'll look at it, but we can't do free work because my mortgage company doesn't say like, hey, cool, I really appreciate you doing all that free work. I'll go ahead and waive your mortgage this month. That doesn't happen. So we got to charge those or whoever else wants to come and work with us and then apply our expertise to that. So
When are you going to do DePIN mortgages? Let's get that going.
maybe, yeah. There's a couple of things on here I wanted to address. Oh, cool. Paul's coming in. Let me see if I can get. Oh, how do I do this? This is going to take me a second. I'll have to make two of me, and then I'll
This
make
is
this
my
one
favorite
Paul.
part.
Is it? There we go.
Hey, how are you doing, guys?
Hey, Paul. What's going
Hey,
on?
Doing good.
How are you
A
doing?
long time without being with you.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Let me see if I can switch you from me to you. Oh, edit text. The user interface in this thing has changed. Paul, what's going on with MQTT, dude? Are we going to crush that thing pretty soon? What am I missing?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it's deployed. It works. MQTT is okay.
Okay, is it working on the MetSci thing? I haven't gone back and checked it this week. Oh,
yeah, it's working. We had, on Helium IoT, I start to have some users that is using it on day-to-day basis. So yeah, sounds good.
cool. And then the other
good.
thing that you and I were talking a little bit about, I don't know, Joe, if you've seen this, but I'm sure you have. Paul's got this Helium packet router integration that allows anyone using any of his consoles he's running to get the lat and long of different hotspots, which wasn't available forever.
That's what I was going to ask him about. Yeah, I have not seen that.
Yeah, it is. Basically, you pass through the packet forwarder exactly like when you do MQTT integration, and the message going out is it can be a chip start message with a lat and long enriched, or it's a Helium legacy payload, so you have the lat and long in it. So yeah, you got it. It's contact. And
Oh,
previously it
cool.
was connected to my ETL to get this information, so there was a dependency, and it was a bit complicated for people who deploy the chipset stuff. And now it's connected to the Helium HPR. So basically, there is not the dependency anymore. So yeah, it
Nice. And
simplifies
Great.
the.
Okay.
you sent me a link, Paul. I got to look at it today and see if I can figure it out. But it's basically like I just turned the thing on in the MetSci console. I'm sure it's more
Oh,
complicated
you
than
mean
that.
the documentation?
Yeah, the implementation of the what is the getting these lat longs into people because people were asking me about it, and then that's why I had
Yeah,
asked you.
yeah. Yeah, in fact, it's the link I sent you is when you go in a menu on top right, you have an entry in the menu too, which is documentation. And if you click on it, basically it's open the wiki page on the GitHub project where you have, it's kind of frequency X question. So you have the explanation of how to set up this. So yeah, just for this different step,
All
it's
right,
uh, it's
I'll
missing
see
some
if I can
strings.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I was just
Cool.
talking to somebody yesterday that does like a whole package tracking thing using Helium, and they're getting, the dedicated console that Nova hosts is changing. Well, I don't know, shutting down, migrating, whatever they're calling it. Um, but I was pointing them to you guys, so having those lat logs in there, he'll be happy.
Cool. I'll have to work on that today. It's like my days got super busy this week.
There's always something to do, right?
Oh my
This is what
god!
we opened up with.
It's funny. Like last week when we stopped with GeoNet, I was like, dude, what are we gonna do for a while? And then I was like, oh, you're gonna do these 900 things that just showed up that are all now really important now that you don't have to deal with that stuff. So
Yep.
pretty
Yeah. I mean,
pretty crazy.
you've mentioned this government grant thing. I was just looking. The California has a whole, so they do a cap and trade with carbon credits and stuff,
Hmm.
and there's like a whole department that just has a boatload of money due to this whole cap and trade program, and they deploy it grants for, carbon capture in the soil to composting programs and everything in between. Like, this is natural helium territory. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole air quality thing that gets like $10 million a year. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, there's money for these projects. So
Yeah, the stuff we're doing is what is it, air quality? And I don't know, like I haven't done these grants before, so I'm assuming you're not supposed to talk about it, but I think that's fucking stupid in general. Is that anyone who is already going to figure this out, they're already on this stuff. So for the rest of the folks out there, there's these government grants, one in particular that we're going for with Crystal King, that is monitoring air quality in what they call the Z axis, so the vertical axis, right? There's X, Y. So if you can look in a city and see, oh, there's worse or better air quality at different levels, then you can start to take that information, especially if you can visualize it, see what changes you might need to make. And maybe it's not city, maybe it's an urban, suburban, rural environment. I know the valley that I paraglide has a sand mine at the head of it, and over the years that sand mine has been open and closed and open and closed, and every time it gets closed it's due to air quality issues. But now it's like, oh well, next time they try and open it up, I actually know how to help solve that closing it back down thing, because I can deploy a bunch of sensors that monitor the air quality and show what the PM 2.5 and PM 10 and all the rest of it is. So
yeah, well,
Well,
and there's like, people have
uh,
fears using helium to solve these problems. It's like, it's LoRaWAN. Am I going to lose packets? Like, like, are there things out of my control? Like, what I was looking at yesterday, so the Bay Area has a air quality district, and they have sensors actually they're all throughout California. But you go look at the data logs for these things, and they're missing probably 20% of the pings from those sensors.
hmm.
And so, like, we talk about the LoRaWAN, like, packet loss, in an urban setting, you're maybe 1 out of 1,000, like, even
Hmm.
if that, like, it's so hard to lose a packet when you have so many gateways.
That's right. Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
and so I mean, just like completely put that notion out of your head. Like, the coverage works, like the systems work. Like, that's way
That
better than what's being used already.
And on top of this, I mean, um, it's really a question of implementation. In fact, I mean, for sure you can lose packet in a LoRaWAN, like in
Yeah,
any kind of communication. So it's
we
really the
try.
way we do your firmware. Basically, you can send twice the same value. I mean, you can say the current value plus the previous value. That's a way to solve that. You can also
Mhm.
have an acknowledgement to confirm the reception of the last time frame or something like this. I mean, exactly like we do on TCP over Ethernet or Internet. Basically, you can have the
Yeah,
same kind of mechanism with window repetition and so on. So yeah, I mean, it's an argument that telco use to sell SIM cards, but for real, it's not a big issue.
yeah. I mean, just telling the sensor to send the last 5 results, and then building your backend to, like, grab the thing if it missed one. It's
Yeah.
that's fairly trivial. That's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
And what is really interesting in smart city application is I mean when you go to let's say temperature, for example. I like this example because we had an university guy that had made a study about this. Is about temperature in a city. I mean, when you take a look at the weather channel, basically you have one temperature per city. So it's temperature in I don't know, in San Francisco is 95 degrees, something like this. Okay, let's take that. But the reality is totally different. I mean, if you go one to one place, another one, and so on, you can have something like 10 degree Fahrenheit of difference. And so a guy in university, when it was a really warm day, and take his car and drive by the city and measure the temperature in many places, and he really identifies that there is a big diversity. I mean, basically the poor quarter of the cities have something like in Fahrenheit, maybe something like 5, 6 Fahrenheit of difference compared to the rich part of the cities, just because it's more building in a place, more trees in the other one, and so on. So it creates a big difference. And
Yeah.
there's 5, 6 degrees is like killing people, in fact. So that's really interesting to measure this and to take action. And IoT is, I mean, it's better than having cars driving around the city. So you can have sensor in many places, and in real time you get this information, and you can have a city decision. It's really the role of a smart city. Basically, it's to be able to take the right decision, to put the trees at the right place, or
Yep.
water fountain, or I don't know, to manage this
Yeah.
difference.
I think we talked about this briefly last week, but I literally talked to a team that was trying to study urban heat islands, exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And yeah, using helium for it. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
think that's part of the grant we have. I mean, let's see. There's two things I want to hit. Both from Bobby. One is he's thinking that some projects will last, or some projects will make it, some projects won't. I think the position of the DePIN State is that we want all projects to make it, and I'll support any projects out there that seem to be reasonable. There's a few that I think are flat out fucking scams, and I just won't mention them. But for everyone else, I think they're doing the best they can, and I want them all to win. And I don't think there's any way to accurately predict right now that this project is going to work, or that project isn't. So it's better to support them all. And then the second thing is, why would you? He's asking, why would you be doing air quality? Planet Watch has that whole industry on lockdown. I don't think they have that on lockdown, Bobby. And I'm doing this because these grant sizes are enormous, and I think this is a great intersection for what Helium does. So, yeah, just to answer those two things. I mean, it's pretty wild to think about what Helium has done as far as provide coverage in lots and lots of places, right? It's not perfect. But man, with that coverage, it opens up a lot of opportunities to take a look at the world and see things that we just weren't able to see before because there wasn't enough coverage, wasn't enough redundant coverage, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yep. And I mean, yeah, the cool thing is we're seeing, even if you have to deploy a gateway or two, Helium still unlocks a lot of things for folks. And we talked to somebody that was doing roaming, and they needed to start doing Helium roaming because they needed to do stuff in North America. And they'll probably deploy a couple of gateways in the areas that they can, but for all of those gaps, there's a lot of gaps to fill.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's an interesting thing, but I guess, yeah, I guess you're going to see some of that stuff in Barcelona, right? You're going to see all these different
Yeah.
vendors, and they'll have solutions, and you can say, well, just put it on Helium.
Yeah.
What are the news about Barcelona? I mean, do you know how it's going to be? I mean, we're going to have conference from
Are you
Helium, where
are
meetup
you coming,
or
Paul? Are
yeah.
you
I
going to
mean,
be there?
I've booked my hotel, I've booked my days and everything. So, but I don't exactly know what's going to happen.
Okay,
So,
we'll be there. So we touched on this a little bit earlier on, and I don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure we have a booth at the conference, and then we're going to have a pretty good representation of the foundation team out there for it, talking to as many city leaders and manufacturers as humanly possible. And then we'll do some sort of like evening event. Um, and so we'll have some details like officially out for that, so don't hold me to it. But that is the plan. You feel free to shoot me a message, or I can look up on my calendar and see exactly what's in there. But um, I got my flights booked. I know I'll be there. So yeah,
I'm going to take my car. So,
it is a rough flight from California to get to
oh, yeah,
Barcelona.
yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
14 hours because there's no direct flights.
Yeah, you pass through Paris, I imagine, or something like this.
There's also some press thing.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
So there's going to be a press thing, Paul, but he can't say much more. So just be ready
Is
for
this
the press thing. Is this a
uh,
full court press? Is this media press? What is this about? What's going on?
he loves these things.
Yeah.
He's just like that itching to post it on Twitter. So
Post it. Don't do it. Abide. Do it right here on DePIN State. Let's announce this thing.
great.
Um,
Yeah.
Paul, what's going on with Hip 94, man?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm a bit silent on the hip currently because I'm working on many different things, and my channel was a bit noisy for not a lot of interesting in my point of view. What I'm done is basically gathering data to have I mean, being able to compare exactly the different options we have and compare them to the situation we have currently. So this is running. I run the data set on the region I know, so around Clermont-Ferrand, but I can scale it easily to worldwide. And I need to work on the UI to access this data. And so basically there is kind of analysis. So what I want to see as what is the impact of the different situation on what we consider like important hotspots, the ones that are on the suburb and covering high areas around the city and in the city. So yeah, I've been able to identify all the hotspots and simulate all the different algorithms we have to the other SWOT and the other one. Yeah. What I see by analyzing the data currently is that I will just analyzing on my city where I already know the hotspot and it's more interesting to understand what happened. Is that we really have currently a link between the brand of the hotspot and the revenue. So even if there have been some improvements, currently we already see that if you have a rack, you have a better chance to get thing, and if you have a DIY, you have again better chance. If you have fiber, you have a lot of better chance. What I also see is that you have the packet injection is sometimes having big delays. So basically, that's good. It gives a chance for some of the hotspot to get some reward. What I mean is my analysis is saying that if we solve the packet injection big delay, basically the revenue will be more and more concentrated to the same hotspot. The only reason why some of the hotspots are deselected is due to the big delay we had on the ingestion of packet currently. Yeah, so I'm seeing that I'm really think we need to fix the current situation. Otherwise, we're gonna lose people not related to coverage, but only related to a brand or internet connection or really bad reason. And so we will be able to simulate the different option. So yeah, I'm a bit silent on this currently, but I'm working on console ETL and basically trying to build an OpenStreetMap server to be able to display maps. I don't know if it was a good idea, but it's running OpenStreetMap since a week on one of my servers.
Paul, you should hit me up for maps. We were about to close a little project on getting off of Mapbox for Explorer and some of these others. Maybe able to go at least give you some pointers there.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yes, very excited for, is it hit 93? No, 80, 94 for 93, 83. Yeah, too many numbers. I'm losing track, but it still comes up. I see people confused about their hotspot earnings and the timing and all of that stuff. There is a Gateway RS release, I think, on the pipeline that will sort of stream these things over and make things a little bit faster. But I still think that signing time is going to be a big challenge of it. I should talk about the new Maps project.
You're getting directives.
Yeah.
As the press secretary, as marketing director, Joey at Helium.
I thought we said no more alpha. This is well, I'll give a little bit of a teaser. So on this call, we know the Helium coverage is good, but it's hard to say what Helium coverage looks like, right? We know where hotspots are. We kind of know what the Mappers project looks like and where that coverage lays in. But there's no sort of uniform idea of like, if there's a hotspot here and I know it's operating and it's covering, whatever it says it is, what does that model look like? What does that real coverage look like? Can I expect for a sensor to work indoor or outdoor or, whatever?
Yep.
The anti-gaming work has actually lent a really cool opportunity because they are doing full RF modeling of every single hotspot. We can now start thinking about taking that data, compiling it into one layer on a map. So every hotspot overlays and sort of concatenates its coverage into one unified view. And now you have a map where you can see what is the expected signal strength, how many gateways are delivering coverage at said signal strength, what's my redundancy here, and now you start to have a Helium map that frankly blows away every single other coverage map in the space. And so I'm excited to start bringing that stuff in and rolling that out to the community. It's modeled coverage for LoRa, exactly. And I think it's frankly, it's a huge opportunity to help people better understand the opportunity that exists with Helium. Um, and then we can start to do really cool things like take all of the other public networks and do effectively the same thing with their coverage. And now, if you are an enterprise deployer and you're like, I want to deploy on, Senate or something, I can see that Senate coverage and I can see it in conjunction with Helium coverage because they do roam onto Helium. And now I can make like very well informed decisions on deploying my sensors to LoRaWAN, regardless of the network that it lands on. And yes, mappers will still be relevant. Mappers is going to go through some changes. I'm working through some details on that. As we know, yeah, very relevant. It has a lot of stale data. We need to do some things around cleaning that up. And then we also really want to start working towards the direction of APIs to let anyone leverage that data. And there's all sorts of hoops to go through to sort of make that work. But yes, the general idea, and I've actually given talks within the foundation about this, but you can take the mappers data and use that to validate the modeled coverage. And as long as those things loosely line up, you can apply much more trust to the modeled coverage. And so the two go hand in hand, in my opinion, and will continue to be an important part of the overall coverage story. And it's just fun. Like, I'm still going to keep driving around with my mapper.
What is interesting is to have a level of confidence about coverage. Level of confidence can come to redundancy, but one of the best is mapping. So that's, I think, something interesting.
Like,
So when you
like a
come to
little
Excel,
verified check mark. Yeah.
yeah, that's important. Even if one of the problem we have with the mapping currently is that there's no date. So if some hotspot has been disconnected, potentially currently you can see it as covered when in fact the hotspot is offline. And yeah.
Yeah. And some of the other easy things should like, if a hotspot asserts a new location, you should probably throw away all of the old
Yeah.
data. And so there's a bunch of like low hanging fruit in terms of clearing that data up. The other fun story on mappers is starting to integrate many more data sources. And so blue check box rock. Yeah, pay $5. That's exactly
$8. $8. Let's make the
$8.
foundation some money. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. This is how we're gonna get Elon to pump us on SNL or whatever. That's our plan. But
fucking gray hat with a goddamn technical shit. Although I think I understand most of that. Sorry, Paul, I got to cover you up here.
Validate and API accessible in the cloud for use with an API for traveling. Yes.
I don't know for regulation, but I know that in Sigfox we had this with an API, and by the past I used it for having a pre-validation. It's like when you are selling a device, you sell the device with a network, and you want to be sure that the user will have an access to the network. So basically, you ask him his location, you call the API, and based on this, you get the RSI margin, for example, and you decide if you accept to sell the service to that user or not. So API is really important for this kind of things to automate the verification.
Totally, yeah. Anyway, I guess
you get sorry, but I say it means for triangulation. Basically, you use the signal you received on your payload with the location of the gateway. So you don't really need this.
Yeah, I guess that maybe that was my confusion there. Really, what you want is confidence in the location of the gateway, and then the signal attributes are going to give you the positioning there. But what really throws things off is when a misasserted hotspot gets roped into your data set, and then it pulls everything off unless you have enough data to cast it out.
So what I'd like to see is that SPECSY, which is the DePIN drone project, coordinates with the United States government to do airstrikes on misasserted hotspots. That's,
No. Yeah.
what we need is a weaponized, a DePIN weapons program. So it's like, hey, we're just not going to do this cheating thing anymore. It's just airstrikes all the way. So
Yeah. Palmer Luckey will join you forces on that DePIN network. Yeah.
with pretty exciting stuff about the mappers. I'm psyched to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to
And
be
the
some
maps.
evolution there. I'm not going to publish anything until I know that we can like commit to the code on it.
Hmm.
But there, yeah, there's some fun stuff in the pipeline, and it'll be good to see sort of a new evolution of that. I think I've seen some folks posting screenshots of my roadmap that I wrote like 2 years ago. Um, and it's, but I will pat myself on the back. Mappers did the thing that it needed to do and has worked really well for, past 2 years. But yeah, I think we have some opportunity to sort of see the next iteration of it.
Love it. I'll have to get a little like gold star overlay so I can just put it on you and have it blink a little bit. Joe gets a gold star. Pretty funny. Cool. Well, I think that probably wraps it for the week. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I will remind you that next week there will be no State of the Network because there's the Helium community call.
Oh yeah.
So I think this new time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, means that once a month I get a break, which is great for me. I thought we only had 15 minutes of content today, Joey, but we managed to get all the way till
There's
30
always
hours.
something.
So good
Yeah.
work, Paul. Coming to the end and talking about hit 94.
Yeah.
Ripping. Anything else you guys want to hit before we sign off here?
Abai says I get gold stars. He's probably going to take one away for the gift that I dropped in the IoT working group call yesterday, though. Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to. I'll have to go find that thing.
Yeah.
Cool. So
Yeah.
cool. Paul, good to see you. Joe,
All right.
good to see you. We'll see you guys not next week, but probably the week after, or maybe I'll see you next week on the community call.
See you
Sounds
soon,
good.
guys.
Folks,
I'll be there.
thanks for coming on. We're out.